Chatterbox Studios in downtown Memphis, it's Stephen Kirkpatrick with Executive Speakers on Speakers. We're going international today. We're going across the pond to jolly old England to talk to Ben Hines, founder of Moving Performance. Ben is doing things that no one else on the speaker circuit is doing, and we're going to learn all about his original songs and his Know the Score. So stick around, pull up to the table, because we're going to learn how to speak English good today. I'm so happy to have Ben Hines, founder of Moving Performance, which inspires leaders to change through the power of music. Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm very good, thank you, Stephen. Great to hear you today.
Well, listen, this is a first for our podcast. We're going international today. So excited about this. Got to thank producer Bob for the help. So, Ben, how are things in England?
They're very nice, thank you. I guess if it's the first time you're speaking to an English person, it will be the first time your viewers hear how to speak properly with a proper accent.
Well, like I said,
what do you think about that?
Hey, we're all about educating people on this show, and we want people to learn. So that's why we decided to choose you. All right, Ben. So I need to give people a visual of where exactly in England you live. Now, to most of us, people from America, there's London and then Manchester because of Manchester United. So where do you live in England exactly?
So if you looked at a map of England and you put your finger on London, if you were to move southwest about 150 miles, I live down there, actually towards America, because it's to the west, in a place, in a county called Somerset. Somerset is very beautiful. It's famous for its apples because it rains quite a lot, because essentially we get the weather from the Atlantic.
Very nice. That sounds like a fun place to visit. So who knows? Maybe it'll turn into a tourist destination after our podcast today. So Ben, I want to jump into this. You are doing things on the speaker circuit that no one else is doing. You're providing an experience that no one else is doing, and you're just wowing audiences. So you founded Moving Performance to bring about this leadership change, to bring about this just way of bringing music to leaders and to companies. Talk to me about why you founded Moving Performance and a little bit about the vision behind that.
Yeah, well, I wear two hats, if you like. I'm a business person and have worked in the corporate world for the whole of my corporate career, working career. And I'm also a musician. So I read music at university and then went into banking. And I've always been really interested in business, and I've always had a huge passion for music. And essentially, my experience of the corporate world was a lot of the time it is actually quite dry. Whilst people talk about, their company being hugely creative and doing amazing things, actually the experience of most people, I think, in businesses is quite dry. And I just thought how fun it would be to bring music which everyone responds to, everyone loves, and actually do something really different in the corporate workplace to help people think about how they lead, how they work in teams, and how they essentially can become more effective at what they do in the workplace. And we use music as a way to do that, to bring that to life.
Very nice. Very nice. So was it hard kind of getting off the ground? I mean, because it sounds like a very kind of foreign concept. Was it hard? Was it a hard sell at first?
Well, it was interesting. I think the idea, I suppose, at its very earliest point, what happened in my very, very first interview I had out of university to join a major international bank. And I sat down with the HR director of that bank, and he said, "You've just done a music degree and you're wanting to join our international graduate fast track scheme." And they said to me, most people joining this have got BComs or they've done economics degrees or maths degrees. Why music? And I just said, well, the reality of my university career is that, yes, we've learned a lot about music, and we've also spent a lot of time performing music and playing music. And that is all about communication. That's all about working in teams. It's all about listening to each other. It's all about balancing what I do with the person next to me and what they're doing and understanding our parts. And I said, I think that's what business is about too, when you break down what business actually does practically day to day. I think that's what business is about to do. And the content of business, i.e. the if you like, the theory, the intellectual stuff. I can learn that. And the finance director, the HR director of this bank said, he basically said, yeah, that kind of works for me. And so I joined Barclays on their international graduate scheme and had a fantastic 10 years with them doing the most cool things. I spent 4 years of my career at Barclays working in Africa, working in the African part of the bank. And I loved the creativity that offered, but it still was quite dry. And during my time with banking, I thought, how can we just mix it up here a bit? How can we do something a little bit different, a little bit fun in things like team away days or team meetings or conferences? And so I would just, bring a bit of a different edge, doing something musical, maybe playing a piece of music or getting people to talk about music at its very basic level. But there was one thing Steve and I did in my time in Africa, which really, I think, sowed the seed of what it is I do today. And that was that the top 150 leaders from the African business were at a conference in South Africa. And the keynote speaker of that conference was quite a well-known dude from the UK. And he asked us halfway through the 3-day conference to break up into teams of 25 people and go off and write a play about the customer life cycle. And the idea was that,
boy, I bet some interesting plays got written there.
Well, absolutely. And the plays were to be 5 minutes long. And basically the 6 groups were doing a consecutive message of the customer life cycle. And the part of the customer life cycle that the group I was in was given was the change from bad experience to good experience, like the key pivot moment, if you like. And I went to my team leader and I said, look, and the other thing to say is it was set up as a competition, as in which group's going to do the best play. And I just went up to my team leader and I said, look, we're bankers. They're not actually that creative. And the plays are going to be amusing, but probably for the wrong reasons. And they're not going to have much impact. And I'm thinking, if we want to win this, we need to do something with real impact. So I said, I think rather than doing a play, I think we should all get on stage and sing a song. And that will have real impact. And so what we did, the end product was this. We, because we were given change, I'm like, what song could we do? And we were in Africa, and the Africans are pretty religious, as you may know. And I thought they would probably know, everyone would probably know the tune to Amazing Grace. Mm-hmm. So we rewrote Amazing Grace. We called it Amazing Change. And the end product looked like this. We all huddled up on the stage in a scrum, all kind of bowed over, hands over our head, really like a tight ball. So we got the whole room dimmed. We had a couple of mics. And in the middle of our huddle, we had this lady from Zimbabwe, and she hummed the tune to Amazing Grace into the microphone in a beautiful African gospel voice. Da 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 da. Do. You could hear a pin drop. And then what happened was a few of us joined in with some harmonies and some finger clicking to get a bit of a beat going. And then we started singing 4 verses of our new song, Amazing Change. And all the while, we slowly stood up and opened up like a flower on the stage. We got the lighting to come up gradually. And at the end of it, we were a 25-strong gospel choir, arms in the air, belting out our wonderful song, Amazing Change, the lyrics of which were absolutely to the point of the message we were trying to bring across. They were very relevant. They were witty. They were funny. And the crowd went wild. And it was very interesting to see what happened immediately afterwards. The impact on the audience were that a number of them were literally moved to tears to see their colleagues pull that off. It was really moving. The impact on the 25 people in the group was amazing because when I first mooted the idea, 20% of them were up for it, 20% of them were really not up for it, and 60% of people were sitting on the fence, kind of seeing which way is this thing going to work out, and then we'll join which ship looks like it's going to sail. And I actually think business is like that when businesses are set out a challenge. People have a choice when a new idea is presented to them. And usually 20% are up for it, 20% are really not up for it, and 60% of people, which is most people, are just on the fence. Let's see where this goes. And yet it only happens when people choose a mindset of success and decide, let's just go for it. And when we go for it and do it, amazing things can happen. And of course, this is what happened with this group of 25. And they were amazed at what they had achieved. There was no musical accompaniment. It was all a cappella. But the impact on me was I didn't realize I could do that. And I knew theoretically you could do that, but I had actually never done that myself. And I just thought, I love this day, and I want to do this as a job. I mean, how much fun is that going to be?
What else? Yeah, that's great.
So the long and short of it is, I sat on it for 5 years, and then decided to go for it. And here we are today. So I decided to start the company in 2009, so 7-8 years ago. And our first client was Northern Rock, the British bank, which ran out of money at the beginning of the financial crisis. In fact, it was the first bank to have a run on it in the UK for 150 years. The UK government bailed them out. And the new head of that, the branch network, all the branches, he came to me and he said, we need to change the mindset of our people, because all the managers are looking back on the run of the bank, which was the worst day in British banking history for hundreds of years. And weirdly, they have a sense of pride of how they dealt with all the queues and dealt with all the problems and the customer problems facing them. And yet they were also incredibly angry towards the leadership for screwing up the bank. And there was a whole mix of emotion. And they said, well, what could you do with music to change their mindset? And I said, well, have you as a leader ever gone to the people and actually asked how they feel? And he said, well, no, because that's not what we tend to talk about in business. And actually, they're frightened of what they're going to hear. And I said, well, with music, we could write songs where they express the positive emotions and the difficult emotions that they'd felt over the last couple of years, and actually just get it all out there. And just getting it all out there, if you like, gets it off their chest. And then what happened was that as they performed these songs in the conference, the people listening to the songs were, of course, the organization.
Yeah.
And so it became this incredibly cathartic transaction where they shared and sung literally from their hearts what they wanted to say, and the organization and all the leaders heard it. And then it was like, okay, now we can put this to bed, draw a line in the sand, and move forward with real positive intent. And now that organization has been reprivatized, and they attribute this conference as a key part of that journey to change the mindset of their people.
That's an amazing example of a transformative experience. I think so many times corporations, not-for-profits, foundations, associations, they want to have these transformative experiences. I mean, and I think that what you just laid out is definitely something that everyone wants to have, kind of a cathartic, really kind of aha moment. That's amazing. Now, you mentioned something about leadership listening. Talk to me about the parallels between leaders needing to listen and a symphony orchestra needing to listen.
Yeah, so the link here with, so I'm an orchestral musician. I play the French horn.
Time out. Whoa. Ben, hold on.
Yeah.
Why the French horn?
Why the French horn?
Why the French horn?
Good question.
Come on. Guitar, drums, I get. French horn? Really? French horn?
All right. Do you really want to know the answer?
I'm asking, so yes.
This is quite a personal question. So when I was 11...
Do you need to clear it with your wife first? If you're going to tell us?
No,
okay. I didn't know how personal we're getting. Okay, so...
Okay, yeah, well, it is quite personal. So between 9 and 11, I played the trumpet, and I didn't like it. And I felt my lips were too fat to play the trumpet, and I wanted to play a deeper instrument, a lower instrument in the range. So I wanted to play the tenor horn or the trombone or something. And I went to a new school, and the music master said, "Why not try the French horn?" And I didn't realize that the French horn was the hardest instrument in the world to play, which it is, according to the Guinness Book of Records.
There you go.
And so I thought, yeah, okay, let's go for it. And as it was, I picked it up really quickly and really loved it. And I'm very pleased to play the French horn. In fact, they say that if you were to ask orchestral musicians, whatever instrument they play, if you were to ask them what instrument would you have most liked to learn other than the one that you play, the French horn comes out top on that list, because it has such heroic tunes in the orchestra, and it when you listen to film music and symphonic music, it just has this wonderful, mysterious richness of which composers down the centuries have used with great effect. So I love French horn.
I'm sold. I'm gonna buy my 3-year-old a French horn this afternoon. Make him start playing it. I'm kidding. There's no way you can pick it up that easy. So that's good. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Okay, so back to leadership and listening with the symphony.
Yeah. So as a French horn player, I've sat at the back of orchestras for years, and I've wondered, how is it that I experience moments of great flow and great team spirit and great effectiveness and achievement sat in an orchestra, but actually I feel less like that in the world of work. And why is that, and what's going on? And why is it that I'm inspired by some conductors and very uninspired by others? And what's that saying to me about how they lead and so on and so forth? And then I would sit there, and this is, I was doing my business career in banking and playing the horn in orchestras, and I was thinking I'd love to bring my work colleagues into an orchestra for them to really learn how it happens, and then let's make some really powerful connections into the world of work. So in 2011, we launched Know the Score with our orchestral product with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra in London. It's the first leadership program in the world to use a professional world-class orchestra, which is branded and named. There are a number of conductors who do things similar with bit part orchestras, but this is the first one to do with a proper branded orchestra. And the orchestra absolutely love it, and the clients dig it big time, because here you are being immersed in a world-class, high-performing team and really learning firsthand how they do it. And listening is absolutely key. And it's really interesting, because as a musician, you're needing to balance how good you are. You're needing to balance your own contribution, if you like, even your own ego, to have the boldness to go for it and to present what you have to offer. You need to balance that with everyone else around you, your teammates in your section, your instrument section, such as the French horn section, and then the brass section, and then the brass and wind section, and then, of course, the whole orchestra. And that involves an incredibly attuned sense of listening. And it's very interesting when you take that parallel straight into the world of work, and you think, how many times have you sat in a meeting and you realize that actually no one's listening to each other? There isn't balance. Everyone's speaking over each other. They are pushing their agenda. They're not really listening to what others are saying. They're seeking to be understood and to understand, and so on and so forth. And it's very interesting after the orchestral experience, after we bring this to life with music, how more attuned your ears are in the workplace, and you suddenly hear so much more, and hear so much more noise as opposed to beautiful music, if that makes sense in terms of the purity of the balance. And so that's one way that that listening has a big parallel with music and leadership. The other thing is, of course, the orchestra can tell when the conductor's not listening, because they are professional enough to know when they're getting things right and when they're not getting things right. And they can tell if the conductor's picking up on it or not. And I think that's very true for the world of work for leaders. The people that they lead will know whether they're getting it right or wrong, and will also know how you address that and how you lead them through the challenges. And they will know whether you're listening and you're really on it or not. And that's a challenge for leaders, as it is indeed for conductors.
So let's talk about this. So, you talked about launching Know the Score in 2011, and obviously you talked about as well about rewriting a known song like Amazing Grace, and I know that you do that as well too. But you also can go into an organization and organically create an original song out of nowhere, out of nothing.
Yeah.
So basically you just go in and you just say, get the themes and just and start to work. Talk to me about that process, how that goes, and let's talk about just some of the transformational moments that have come from that original song experience.
So when in my experience, when corporations are having a conference, they're having a conference for the purpose of something, usually to communicate something important to their employees or their leaders, to ask their leaders and their employees to embrace a new challenge, a new objective, or to have a change of direction, or whatever it might be. There is a key objective as to why they're doing it. And I think it's really interesting if you can present and produce and articulate that objective and what it means to the people through music, because then it addresses not only their intellectual thinking, their mind, it's also accessing their hearts and their emotions, because that's what music does and does so effectively. And so when we go into conferences and we do original songwriting, what we're doing is we're saying, why don't you communicate to yourselves what this means to you through music? So what is the beat of your vision? Is it reggae? Is it hip hop? Is it jazz? Is it rock? What is the rhythm of your organization, of your vision? And what is most important to you in terms of what you're trying to achieve and the direction you're going to go forward? And we work with, I've got an amazing team of musicians and songwriters who, and we together draw out and facilitate the content. And then we've got a very slick process of turning that content into an original song with original music, and within a relatively short period of time, usually less than an hour, you have completely got an original song which captures the essence of what our clients are wanting to do. And then we spend some time rehearsing that and building it up, and we have an amazing professional session player musicians in who turn it all into music, and we do this all in the middle of a conference. And so the gift of this to the client is, or certainly the people who are owning the conference, if you like, the gift of this is that their hundreds of people in their conference are properly G'd up about something which is very relevant to the organization. And they go on a real high. But this isn't kumbaya. This isn't weird and wacky. There is a benefit. There is a very specific corporate benefit in this. And that is that every participant has to choose to go for it. And of course, that's what their organizations are wanting them to do. They're wanting their leaders to have courage and step out and go for it. And singing is many people's worst nightmare, especially in public.
Now, Ben,
and yet everyone can do it.
Sorry. So how do you get those people that are on the fence to buy in? Because it seems like this could scare a lot of people. This whole getting in front of everyone singing. I mean, how does that buying process work?
Well, I think it works in a number of phases. First of all, we demonstrate it ourselves. So I will talk about it. I will talk about the need to go for it, either through singing or French horn. There's a huge parallel between singing and leadership. So well, actually, let me say this. The reason people find singing so challenging in public is that they are exposing something which is unique to themselves. That's their voice. And that is incredibly personal. You are sharing something, and therefore you're worried that people are going to judge you, that they're going to make an opinion about you. Now, that is exactly the same challenge that leaders have, because the best leaders in the world are those who are truly authentic to who they are and are willing to go there, to share it, to share something of themselves. And therefore, they're risking being judged and being analyzed, and that feels exposing, that feels risky. So people can immediately see the parallel there between singing and leadership. And then we say, so here's a relatively, well, here is a safe opportunity for you to go for it now with your singing and learn something about leadership in the process. And so we'll demonstrate that through singing or playing a musical instrument. We then go through a series of icebreakers to help them lose their inhibitions. And realize that actually collectively they can do some pretty cool stuff. And then we never tell them up front that they're going to write a song. Of course, the conference organizers will know this.
They know, but no one else does.
Exactly. And then they are just led down this path, and when they realize that this is what they need to do, there is a aha moment in terms of, okay, now I need to make a choice. And I've never seen a group not go for it, ever. In a group, I reckon, and I promise you, I reckon it's 98.5% go for it. And the 1.5% of people who don't are those sorts of individuals who just don't go for anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
You have a few of those in organizations. And that is generally the pattern we see. And, that is the pattern we see. And people love it. They really enjoy it. And they surprise themselves. We did this conference actually through your good selves in South America last December. And at the end of the session, I got some spot feedback from the room in terms of how that was for you. And one leader, he stood up and he said, Ben, when you first mentioned we had to sing a song, I was very much in the 20% of people who wanted to get out of the room as quickly as possible. And he said, I realized I had to make a leadership choice there. And I decided to go for it. And he said, I've amazed myself. I've had a lot of fun, but I've also learned something about needing to go for it in my workplace and have the courage to step up and go for it. And for me, that's a brilliant takeout. I mean, if people are going to have the courage to go for it more in the workplace, then that's how we start to transform workplaces.
Very cool. That's cool. Now, Ben, one of the things you talked about authentic leadership. How do you see humility playing into authentic leadership?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I think humility is so key, because someone who's humble is someone who's very real. They're really very real to what they are challenged with, to what they are gifted in, to what they're good at. They are open to learn. They have courage to learn. It takes humility and courage to learn. And for me, leaders who are open to learning, to listening, demonstrate both that, the humility to listen and the courage to act on it. And for me, that's what is very inspiring about leaders. And when you look at great famous leaders out there in the world, you can tell the ones who listen, and they are always inspiring. And so I think the angle of humility and courage is really key. And of course, in the orchestra, going back to that point about listening, you have to balance your ego with the need to blend and almost sacrifice it for the common good. And I think that takes quite a lot of humility. So what you see in world-class musicians is actually a deep humility to give of themselves and balance themselves to the greater good. And the more business leaders and people who do that, I'm sure that's going to make a real change in the workplace.
Very good answer. All right, Bob, hit the music. All right, it is time to play a new game here on Executive Speakers on Speakers. So as you know, Ben is from outside London, and I am from South Louisiana, which Lafayette is the gateway to Acadiana, and I have family from there. Both places are known for their wonderful slang terms. So this is what we're going to attempt to do today. I'm going to read Ben 3 slang terms from Lafayette, Louisiana. Ben is going to read me 3 slang terms from London, and we're going to try and guess what each of them mean. Only difference is I have a buzzer and Ben does not have a buzzer. Ben, are you ready to try this craziness?
I am. I don't quite know what you're leading me into, but let's go for it.
You know what?
I used to live in London, but I'm not a Cockney.
I understand. You know. Like I said, I understand that. We're just, like I said, we're going to try this. If it's terrible,
we're just going to play it.
Yeah. Why not? Okay. I'm going to go first. I'm going to throw you a softball question. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read this, and then you'll have a certain amount of time to see if you can come close to guessing what it means.
Wait there. Is softball, is that part of the slang?
No. Okay, sorry.
Is it to do with softball, or is that actually part of slang?
No. Sorry, softball was like, I'm going to give you...
As opposed to a hardball, right?
I'm going to try to give you an easy one first. One first. Okay.
Oh, that's good of you. Okay.
First one is laissez les bon temps rouler. I will read it again. Laissez les bon temps rouler. What does that mean? Ben, this is the easy one.
I know, this is the problem. How are you doing today?
Oh, Ben, I'm sorry. It actually means let the good times roll.
Fail?
It means let the good times roll. You were wrong. Incorrect.
Oh, laissez.
Yeah.
It's French, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a little French in there. There we go. French
Okay,
lesson.
you do have a buzzer. Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Do I ask you one now, or do you ask me another?
Or you go. You read me one.
Okay. All right, my old China.
All right, my old China. I'm gonna say everything is good, grandfather. Oh, man.
That's my buzzer. Right, no,
Okay.
What that means is, how are you, mate? As in, how are you, friend?
Oh, okay.
So my old China is my old China plate, which rhymes with mate.
Oh.
So, all right, me old mate.
There we go.
That was my easy one.
Okay.
Harder.
Oh, gosh. All right. Here, all right.
Okay, let's go for it.
All right, here's number 2. T-Bob got a lanyap at the candy store. T-Bob got a lanyap at the candy store.
Okay, so I think that is someone got a long, stringy piece of candy at the candy store, a lanyard being a string.
Oh, sorry.
No,
okay, so
that
what?
Didn't work.
All right, so what that means is Bob Jr. T-Bob means little person. So like, So like your son would be T-Ben.
Oh, T-Bob, yeah, little Bob.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, got you.
So it would be T-Bob got an extra piece of candy for free at the candy store. Lanyap is a little something extra for free. So it's like if you go in the donut store and they give you a baker's dozen, that extra donut would be considered a lanyap.
Extra dozen. Fantastic. Okay.
There we go.
All right.
All right, your turn.
Here's your second one.
All right.
How's your old trouble and strife?
I'm going to go with how is your wife?
Yeah.
There we go.
You got it.
There we go. There we go.
Woo.
I'm winning right now. All right.
You are.
All right.
Me. That's not good. Okay.
All right. Number 3.
Equalize this.
Number 3. Boudreaux took his Piro to his Paul Rance Fay Dodo. Boudreaux took his Piro to his Paul Rance Fay Dodo.
Oh my goodness. Say that again.
Okay. Boudreaux took his Piro to his Paul Raz Fay Dodo. Now, Boudreaux's just a name.
Okay, I was going to say, okay.
Don't worry about Boudreaux. Boudreaux's just a name. So, took his Piro to his Paul Raz Fay Dodo.
I think Dodo, is that something to do with going to bed?
It is close. It is close. I'm impressed. Do you mean tell you?
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So what this means is Boudreaux took his small boat to his godfather's Cajun dance. Piro is a small boat used in the swamps and on the the backwater canals.
Yep.
Paul Rat is godfather. Paul Rat is Cajun for godfather, and Fay Dodo is a Cajun dance. But Fay Dodo actually does mean to go to bed. So basically, you're going to have so much fun that the party is going to put you to bed. So I'll give him 2 rings because
give me a ring.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. All right.
Okay.
All right. Number 3 for me. Let's see if I can get this.
So one of 3.
I got to win.
The one thing I haven't done is play my French horn in front of the baked bean.
The one thing I haven't done is play my French horn in front of the baked bean. All right, I'm just going to go with it. You haven't played your French horn in front of the Queen.
You've got it.
Wow, there we go. So, all right, baked bean and Queen.
So I've got a bonus question for you.
Oh, wait, no, hold on. What, the Queen of England, Her Royal Highness, her Majesty, the Queen, baked bean? I don't understand that.
Baked bean, Queen. It's all about rhyming, you see. It's easier slang than this Cajun slang thing. Yours is way more random because you're kind of mixing up French, right?
Yeah. Let's okay.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, bonus question. I'm ready for bonus question.
Okay. The great thing about working with you, Stephen, is you know your brass tacks.
The great thing about working with you, Stephen, is you know your brass tacks. The great thing with working with you is you know your brass tacks. You know your facts and your figures? Is that what that means?
You got it.
There we go. Wow, look at this. Wow, I guess I won.
Listen,
First time we played.
I got caned. I got absolutely smashed apart. Brilliant. But I'm humble, Stephen, so it's fine.
Well, like I said, I'm glad you can demonstrate humility. Listen, Ben, thank you so much for being with us. If you are listening, go check out Ben Hines' video on our website, www.executivespeakers.com. It has examples of this original song. It has examples of him working with people. What he is doing is truly transformative and amazing experience. Just www.executivespeakers.com, Ben Hines. Just take a look at it. It just does amazing things. Ben, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to join with us and talk. And thanks so much. We'll look forward to having you again.
You're welcome, Stephen. Take care now. Cheers.
I'd like to thank my guest, Ben Hines, for being a good sport in our game, as well as just being an overall gentleman. To learn more about Ben, go to our website, www.executivespeakers.com. You can find his bio, speech topics, as well as his amazing video, which we referenced in the show. As always, thanks to Chatterbox Studios, producer Bob Arnold, Ryan Sheeler, and Poddington Bear for providing our music. We'll see you next time.